Hi, John. It's good to see you.
It is great seeing you, Sean. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Doing good.
Good, good. What is on your mind this week?
I read an article that's on my mind, but just to set it up a bit, a few weeks ago, and I don't even remember how the conversation came up, but I was talking to my daughter about some different things, and Sierra was telling me that and again, I don't remember how it came up, but she told me that on like dating sites, on I think even sometimes job applications, on different things you do online, that a lot of times they'll have like the Myers-Briggs personality test to say they're going to match you up, or you have to take it for a job. Like if you're applying for a job online to do a certain thing, because they're wanting to know what certain personality traits you have so that they can see if you're a good match, or if there's two people so they can see if they're a good match. And so I was asking her about that because I have my own views on tests like this. And she
Oh,
said that even on site, that, even social media, you can take that. It's readily available. Anybody can take it. And that's a first red flag to me. If anybody can take it, it's online. But thinking about that, because to me, I'm saying no, that's not going to give you a good. There are tests out there, and this isn't my area. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I've just read enough and talked to enough of my colleagues who are in this area to. They're not real big on the Briggs test, and so an article popped up on a couple days ago and talking about this, that personality tests like the title of it was personality tests like Myers-Briggs can mislead more than reveal. And so I was just reading it going, yeah, this is exactly what I was thinking. So there's some research published showing that it really lacks the lack of scientific credibility. So this is more like a debunk section, like that we
mm,
have sometimes, debunking it. It's lack of reliability is what makes it really difficult as a scientific measuring tool. And the clinical psychologists that I know and the people that I know do not use it. They stay clear of it. But it's become popular in like social settings. And I think it's because the tests, the people owning the test decided if professionals aren't going to use it, let's make it available to the general public, because then this will look like a personality test. So it's one researcher called it a glorified fortune cookie. And the like you take this test and it tells you what your personality type is, if you're an extrovert or an introvert, or the different things.
right.
And then you can take it again just a couple of weeks later and get a different result. And that's why the test retest reliability isn't there. And
Mm,
personalities don't change week by week. You have personality characteristics that are fairly stable throughout your lifetime. And you can score different on these tests because life experiences can shift you in one direction or another. But that takes a lot of time. That takes years probably. And so the MBTI is not, it really lacks validity and reliability. It's more like a horoscope. And so they likened it to the Barnum effect that we've talked about, I think, before, where it's like you can make statements in a generic enough way that almost everybody can think that applies to them, which is what
mm,
horoscopes do. And
right.
so it's kind of like a horoscope that people think is scientific, and it's not. So again, like the big five personality test, and is looked at as much more because it shows test, retest reliability and validity, and only professionals really use it. And then you probably heard of the MMPI.
I've
The
taken it a couple of times, yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's looked at as more reliable and valid,
Mm,
but
okay.
but not the Myers-Briggs, which is the reason I mentioned it. If I hadn't been having the conversation with Sierra, I probably wouldn't have even thought about it. When I read over it, I would have looked at the headline: "Personality tests can mislead more than reveal." I'd go, "Yeah," and then I'd move on to the next article. But we had just
Yeah.
been talking about this one specifically, and how many people use it and feel like that they're getting a deep understanding of themselves or somebody they know, or they're hiring people based on this and things like that, where it's just nonsense information. Really, it's unreliable.
Yeah, so I took the Minnesota multiphasic that test both times for to become a police officer. That's one of the battery of tests that you take, and then. But what's funny is because I've been, as you were talking, I was sitting here trying to remember. I've taken the Myers-Briggs test way more times. Myers-Briggs test,
Really?
but so leadership courses that I've been to, class, anything that involved emotional intelligence. This was one of the first tests that we took, okay. and boy, should I admit this on this podcast? The first couple of times I took it seriously, because they ask you these questions, like they put you in scenarios and say, what would you do in this scenario or whatever. And then it says, and there's 4 different things, right? Like introvert, I'm trying to remember the categories, but whatever you come back as. And then the second time I took it, it was a little bit different. And then I found myself the third time unintentionally trying to answer the questions to come up with the same thing that I got on the first 2. So it was more like I wanted to be the EJ. I'm trying to extrovert, whatever the things were. So every time I took the test now, I was actually trying to manipulate the outcome so that I would be the thing that I thought that I was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's also.
I feel like I started to get crazy there at the end, but
no, that's a trait on the MMPI, trying to manipulate psychological tests. No, I'm kidding.
Because I was going to say I probably scored very high on that.
I'm just kidding.
But do you understand? Like in my mind, after I took the test a couple of times and I read what these different results were, one of those results I identified with. It resonated with me. Like, I think that's what I am. And then every time I took the Myers-Briggs after that, I tried to be the outcome to be what I wanted it to be. Maybe I'm a lunatic. I'm coming to that. Maybe there is like
no, I don't think you are.
That Minnesota multiphasic test was right about me. But
yeah, it tests, I think, it's looking for more personality disorders, the MMPI, and then the Big 5 is looking for personality traits.
What is the Big 5? I've never heard of the Big 5 that I know of.
Oh man, so the Big 5 looks at things like openness and I think introvert, extrovert. See, like I told you, I'm not a clinical psychologist.
Right.
I don't know much about it, but the Big 5. Why don't we let me just type it in and see.
I was doing the same thing.
Okay, type it in and find out, because it rates you in certain scales to tell which personality type you're most like.
Yeah, this says in psychometrics, the Big 5 personality trait model or 5-factor model is the most common scientific model for measuring and describing human personality traits. Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. Those are the 5. Okay. It also goes by the acronym OCEAN, OCEAN. Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism.
That makes it easier.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are like personality traits and types, which I think is what the Myers-Briggs is also trying to do, but not nearly as effectively.
Yeah. And again, to double back on that is because you're saying the inability to what did you say?
Yeah. Test, retest, reliability. So you can't replicate the same results.
Yeah.
So one time it says you're an extrovert, and another time it says you're more of an introvert, and the next time it says, it just changes each time. And that's why you thought on your third time taking it, I really liked what I was the first time. I'm going to try to get that again, because that's
exactly what I did.
It's just different each time. And a test about personality would stay consistent. So the Big 5, as you take it multiple times, you always end up as somewhere in the ocean, like either as openness being, and it's different amounts of each one,
Hmm.
but it's reliable, and it's also valid, meaning they've used external tests and ways to test it to make sure it's accurate. So
Hmm.
you can then take like a psychiatrist or a psychologist that will interview you and go through a lot of different things and come up with kind of a profile of what you are, and then you can take the big five and you match very closely to that. But the Myers-Briggs does, so that's what leads to validity. Some of those things can lead to that, and
Yeah.
people that are very similar will score very similar. People, it's much more scientifically accurate, the big five, and the
Yeah.
Myers-Briggs is not, but that's the one that's most available in the
That
public.
everybody uses.
Hmm.
And everybody's more familiar with. Now we're into this trick in the brain thing again, where everyone's heard of it, so everybody
Yeah.
believes that's the test, that's the way to go.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
funny. I had a different question. So, obviously not going to name names, but let me start with a different question. So I'm assuming you're familiar with the term FOMO.
Yes.
Okay,
Fear of
and
missing out.
that is exactly it.
Yes.
And another one of these terms that I think gets maybe thrown around loosely. So my second question then is there a place in your world, and would it be psychology, or is there a place, is FOMO an actual thing that y'all talk about?
Yeah. So it's been studied in
Okay. That's
in
that's a
psychology.
better question. Yeah.
Yeah, in psychology and neuroscience. In
Really?
fact, yeah. So they've looked at, so FOMO is more of a personality trait.
Okay.
So it's where you have a kind of a preoccupation of missing out on something or being excluded from activities or within your social group. So we have this this longing, kind of built-in longing. As humans, we're social animals, so
Hmm.
we have this longing to be around other people and to be in social groups. And some people, that's a very strong drive. They just need to always be with people. And then other people, it's not as strong. Like, I don't mind being around people once in a while, I enjoy it, but I also need some me time, and I need to just be away from everything and shut down for a while. So it's such a wide range to start with. And people that are really high would score high in the need for social interactions. They're really sensitive to feelings of loneliness and things like that. And so the brain processes things a little bit differently for them. So they have a little bit heightened feeling or desire to belong to a group, and that's part of our social makeup as humans. So one way, I guess, to think about FOMO, the fear of missing out from what your friends are doing, is it's an artifact of kind of an unfulfilled belongingness need. So we have a need to belong, and that need isn't being met. So now I have FOMO, and that brings about anxiety and things like that. So that's why it's more of a personality trait. I think it's become a common term with social media, but it
Yes.
but it doesn't have to be social media. So you can have the fear of missing out even if you're not in like social media. So like, for example, if your buddies, a group of your friends, decide at the last minute to plan a fishing trip, and they say,
Hmm.
"Hey, do you want to go with us?" And you go, "I don't think I can get off work." And then they say, oh, "Okay, we'll catch you next time," or whatever. And now that like Friday, like they leave on a Thursday evening, and you can't go because you need to work Friday, and they're coming back
Hmm.
Sunday. So then Friday all day at work, you're thinking, "Man, I wonder what they're doing," and you feel all this like, I'm missing out on that bonding. I'm I should be there because I know they're going to have stories, and later they're going to tell stories, and I won't be part of it. I'll just have to hear them and laugh along, but I won't know what that's like, and I'm going to miss that experience. And so you start becoming really, really anxious, thinking, I should have just called in sick. Like, what is wrong with me? I should have just called in sick and gone anyway. And it can be stressful and distressing, and you can build anxiety and depression around not just maybe one trip, but if it continues to happen, it's that feeling of, man, I'm being left out right now. There's, I need to fit in. I need to bond right now, and I'm not getting that time. What if this creates a fracture and we never in our friendships, and I kind of start drifting away from this group, and yeah, it can be stressful for people.
This is good for me because, as always, we're 15 minutes in, and I've learned, or maybe you've given me a different way of looking at this. I had a pretty set way of what FOMO meant, and boy,
Mhm.
it's way off as usual. But
I
it
bet there's
is
parts of truth to it.
maybe a little bit. You're always
Yeah,
so
I do.
nice. You're always so good with this. But so let me. I'm going to go back and just so there is a preoccupation with what's going on. So going back to the fishing trip,
Hmm.
if on my Friday, so I had to work. You all go fishing. You leave Thursday night, and all day Friday instead of working or thinking about anything else. There's this preoccupation with what I'm missing, with what's
Hmm.
going on. And
Yes.
then that preoccupation, and again, not just this one trip, but if I feel isolated or left out enough, then that starts to become anxiety, depression. Is that
Hmm. Yes. Yep.
okay?
That's right. But then I think you're thinking about it initially in terms of social media, because that's like you
That's
scroll because of FOMO, right?
mhm.
So that that has just kind of exacerbated it.
Okay.
So I was just
Okay.
saying there's already this idea that's already out there about the sense of belonging and needing to be part of a group and your social group. And then if they're doing something without you, or if you feel left out, that's that fear of missing out. But now that we have social media, that just like ramps up on, that's FOMO on steroids really at this point, because now you are scrolling and you're seeing friends, doing different things, like you'll see them at a get together or something. You go, oh man, I wasn't invited to that get together. They're having fun without me. Like you're on Instagram going, though, so and so got together this weekend for me. Man, I
That's
wasn't
what I'm
invited.
saying.
And then,
So
yeah,
think about social media. The first part of it, I just want to expand on what you just laid out. Is the first part is I follow all of my friends on social media,
yeah,
and the algorithm is pushing people that I might know
hmm,
to me, and that I follow them. So now I have all these people I'm following that I know, and now I'm scrolling and I see on Instagram that they're all together and I'm not there,
yeah,
and it's driving like now
hmm,
I'm looking at the pictures. Who all's there? What are they
hmm,
doing?
yeah,
What and now it's this sense of so going back to the fishing trip. Take social media out of it. I'm just preoccupied with on Friday. I'm sitting at my desk just going, God, I wonder what they're doing right now. I wonder. I'm missing out on all that. Now I have this device in my hand where I can see everything I'm missing out on, right?
yeah. They'll
And
post
all
a
my
picture.
friends. Oh, and they post a
Here's the
picture or they
fish.
they say, we're doing this, and now I'm just sitting there just doom scrolling through my
Hmm.
friends,
Hmm.
looking at the trip that I'm not on. That's
Yeah.
so I'm not that far off. I mean, a little bit, but that
No,
far
yeah.
off from what I imagined this this thing is. But what you said, which I never considered, right, is a little bit of the idea that we do have a need as tribal creatures. We do have a need
Hmm.
to be included,
Hmm.
and that is not being met. And now, because we all are unique, we all have different degrees of
Hmm.
how much we need to be. Because
Right.
I love people. I just don't want to be around them that much. It's a weird spot, but I have the opposite of FOMO. I would argue I have JOMO. Um, I
Oh,
don't really have a lot of social media, but if I was to look through pictures and go, I am quite comfortable on the couch watching Matlock. I don't know. I'm just old man
yeah.
Sean is like, leave me out of this. But so again, you're saying the brain, because we're all similar, but we're all unique. Is there I shouldn't say you said, I'm asking, is there a part of the brain that gets activated in this process? Either one.
Yeah, yes, there is. So with FOMO, the brain's reward circuitry,
Hmm.
like the dopamine and things like that, the VTA, the tegmental area, and nucleus accumbens. These are where like the dopamine system is run by these parts of the brain, and that's the reward. I'm talking about the reward system. So when you are having fun and you're enjoying something, that's the dopamine hit that people talk about. And that's also the dopamine hit you get when you're scrolling.
Right.
But
Right.
when you see others having fun that's in your social group, your brain flags that kind of in a sense because of kind of understanding other people and the social aspect of understanding other people. It flags it as a potential reward that you're missing out on. So now you get that, oh, that's a potential a reward I'm missing out on. And then there's also, I've talked about the default mode network that like
Yes.
runs consciousness and our kind of our future and understands where we fit into social things. It's a reduced thickness in people with social disorders who are more prone to FOMO. So
Oh,
it's involved in self-preferential processing and social cognition. So it's about me, and especially future planning. Like now it's like, what if I miss out on something? So now I'm going to be worrying about that. I just missed out on something. What if I miss out on the next trip? What if my friends decide they have more fun without me and I start not getting invited at all type of things. So FOMO is connected to kind of a self-focused social cognition rather than just the typical reward pathways.
oh.
And then
Well,
there's a change in, we've talked about inhibitory control from the frontal cortex. So there's been studies showing that that's diminished. So there's diminished
yeah.
control over that. And then I think what's also really interesting is the idea of social pain. So that's process. Like when we're in physical pain,
Hmm.
the ACC is active and it has a certain pattern to respond to physical pain. And it also, that pattern is the same with emotional pain or emotional distress. So it uses the same pathways for emotional distress. So when we're excluded from a social group, we have that pain that can feel like a hurt in your stomach. It can feel like real pain, and you get that sense of that this is real pain.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to? The shared neural pathway things are fascinating. Do you want me to talk about that for a second, or go to
Yeah.
something? I
No,
just think this
please.
is fascinating that our brain is limited in how big it can be because of our skull. And I know our skulls could grow larger, but if our brains get larger, then it's going to take more energy to run it. So we're kind of at a balance where we're maximizing
Hmm.
space, energy, those types of things. And so to do that, there's something called neural economy, where you want to get the most out of what you have. And so we've talked about with the visual system, we have this visual machinery that when light strikes the eye and travels through the brain, it eventually builds this image in our head, an internal image of what the external world is like. And
Hmm.
that's how we see things. So that's us seeing, is we're experiencing this internal image. So it's been created by the brain.
Right.
But now when you want to use your imagination or you want to recall a visual memory, the brain doesn't build separate machinery to do those different things. It doesn't have a machine for each new thing you do. It just says, we've already got a machine that
Right.
creates an internal image. Let's just use that. So it uses that to create it. Well, pain is the same way. There's pathways, and pain is fascinating. We should talk about pain sometime, because pain is in the brain, not in the body where you're feeling the pain.
Well, we talked about phantom limb, right?
Well,
You're right.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
We were talking about pain for a piece of your body that no longer is attached to you.
Yeah, that's
You want to
exactly
talk
right.
about how fascinating pain is, like that let's start there, right?
Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
go back to, you're saying the same mechanism that it measures I don't want to say actual, physical pain. You said
Mm-hmm.
physical pain.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to that.
Yeah. So there's people that don't feel pain. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but they
I
don't.
vaguely remember this, but tell me again,
Yeah.
please.
So there's certain nociceptors, there's certain receptors that they have like in their skin and places that detect pain. That'll send a signal. If you get a scratch on your arm or a cut, it'll send a signal that that's pain. They don't have these, and these are almost always around sweat glands. So there are people who don't sweat, so they have to be really careful not to overheat. And the people that don't sweat are usually people that don't really feel pain much. And it's not either or, it's how much pain you feel.
I just realized something. We may have talked about this briefly on the podcast before,
Uh-huh.
but I just remembered. I just watched a movie this weekend called Novocaine. That it's kind of new. It's a limited release movie, but the whole point of the movie is this guy was born without pain receptors. He feels no pain, and this is not a documentary, by the way. It's Jack Quaid who turns into a superhero. Never mind that part. What was fascinating is the little details that they put into how he had to live his life. Because one of the scenes, he doesn't eat solid food because he could bite his tongue off and not realize it.
Yes.
And all like the corners of his house, everything in his house is padded. Like I'm trying to remember all the, that wasn't a big part of the movie, but if you're paying attention to it,
Mm-hmm.
if you really sat and thought about how you would live your life beyond the age of 24 if you felt no pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like scalding hot water, reaching into a boiling pot of water, just all of the things I think we take for granted from a pain standpoint. Now, his girlfriend gets kidnapped and he uses his lack of feeling pain to his advantage to take out everybody, but neither here nor there. Not a documentary. I want to double down on that. But,
did he overheat easily, or?
Now that I don't know that I picked up on that. I don't think that they made a point of the no sweating thing. That is the first I've ever heard of the connection between those two things.
Yeah. And I mean, you already mentioned the things like biting your tongue. Like if you experience pain, like if listeners are listening, they experience pain. If you just start to slowly bite down on your tongue, you can feel the difference. It's like, and you stop, because the more pressure you put, the more pain there is. And that's just your brain doing that for you to help you. People without pain, I've read stories from different individuals. They usually have blunted tongues. It's hard for them to talk because they bit their tongue off.
Oh.
They'll be like walking somewhere, and the reports will be, I was just walking and something hit my leg and almost tripped me, but I just kept going. And then it was like harder and harder to walk. And I felt that my foot was getting wet, like I was stepping in water, and I looked down and they were bleeding profusely, and something had cut their leg and almost, really injured it. So they're still trying to walk on it. If they twist their ankle and it's swelling up, they're still trying to walk on it because they don't feel that pain. There's so many things, like you said, a hot stove, putting their hand on a burner and looking around going, what's that smell? And then they realize it's flesh and it's them. So people that don't feel pain have a struggle in life. You think that would be good, but there's a real struggle behind that. So the question is, why do we feel pain? That's why I'm thinking this would be a really interesting topic sometime, because our brain, to help us survive, created the mechanisms so that we would feel pain, so that we would stop ourselves from continuing on. So it's just something in the brain that's created to stop us from harming ourselves. And
Further harming ourselves. Yep.
Yeah. So the brain says, okay, now you're in you're in a social situation and people hurt your feelings. Let's use, in order to keep from getting hurt, let's use the same pathway so that you feel actual physical pain and go, I don't want to be around those people again. So now that helps with social pain or emotional pain or whatever it is. The point is that the brain uses almost the exact same pathways and structures in the brain for emotional pain as in when it's processing physical pain. So that's, I think, really an interesting point to FOMO. That also, an fMRI study, which is, again, as you know, it's when you look at the brain's activity in an MRI machine. So it'll show the parts of the brain that are most active during a task. Those will light up so you can see how active they are. So they ran these types of tests on adolescents and showed a functional connectivity between social pain regions and mentalitizing network regions, where you like visualization networks. So it helps. What they found was, there's a better way to say that, but they found a link between social pain and then what you're expecting pain to be, and found that that's what helps kids, or kind of causes them to try to conform with their peer norms and try to fit in because of that pain and those types of things. So FOMO is really important, but it also goes to how much social media, the role that social media plays. Because like I said before, it's like FOMO on steroids. Social media really exacerbates this. I think right now there's like, I don't know, I read this a while ago, but it's like close to 300 research studies that very strongly link social media usage to either anxiety or depression. The people using it start to become anxious or depressed. So, and like 50% of Americans report that using social media intensified those feelings of anxiety and depression.
So if I can go back to pain for just a second, I want to
Yes.
make sure that I'm clear, because then I don't want to go back to what you just said about social media, but the same or similar pathway, that if I'm walking in the dark through the house and I stub my toe, but I mean, like, I said in the dark because I just kick this thing, and it's my pinky toe too.
Probably just broke it. Yeah.
But that pain. So I actually was intentional about this. My toe, because it's the furthest spot away from my brain, that whatever happens for my brain to register that pain, and it's excruciating, I want to be clear. That whole process that happened, there is a similar process for social pain. I'm back in high school in the cafeteria, and I do something just really bad. Like, when I say painful, it's not, I mean, socially, but something really, really embarrassing or whatever. And then everybody in the cafeteria is laughing at me, let's just say. Both of those things take a similar pathway to the brain. I mean, they're both processed similarly, stubbing the toe and getting laughed at like that.
Yeah. So they both travel down pain pathways. Those will be a little bit separate pathways. But if you find, like, if you're really embarrassed, like, it's like your chest is hurting, everything tightens up, your stomach is in knots, you have this pit, you feel like you're going to throw up, maybe. It can be really reactions like that, which is the same pathway causing that same thing. If you're in physical pain, where you're starting to have a heart attack, or your heart's beating differently, so now that pain from the chest pains from that, or you ate something that was really spoiled and you've got that hurt really bad in your stomach, you feel like you're going to throw up. Those are ways to, like, eject the food or to get you to sit down because you're about to have a heart attack. Those same pathways can be activated during emotional pain.
So now put a phone in my hand, and let me stop for a second. Let me say, when I'm talking about put a phone in my hand, let's say that I'm genetically predisposed to this internal mechanism you were talking about, like FOMO.
Yeah. So the sense of, you score really high on wanting to be social and be around people. Yeah.
Yes.
Belongingness and those types of things. Okay.
And now I have my phone in my hand, and I'm seeing a group of people that I'm friends with, that I know, that for whatever reason I can't be involved in that. And the more I'm scrolling, the more pictures I see, the more fun they're having. Like, I'm experiencing physical or similar to physical pain.
Yeah. It can cause shortness of breath, chest pains, stomach pains. Yeah. It can cause all of those things. because your brain's using that same system to go,
Mm-hmm.
we're being hurt right now. We got to figure out how to stop this. We've got to stop this somehow. And you keep scrolling, and it's getting worse. We're hurting ourselves more and more. So the signals ramp up, and we got to get clear of this. We can't let this continue to happen. So the pain is sending signals trying to get you to stop.
Now, okay, that clarifies that for me. And as much as I dislike social media and its effects on all of us, this existed before social media.
Mm-hmm.
It's just social media has just like ramped it up because of everything we talked about. So I want to be clear about that. I want to be fair here in that, social media sucks and it made it worse, but this is not a social media issue.
No, before social media, your friends have done you wrong or something that hurts, and you have these reactions, but then you're not around them, you're not seeing them, and then somebody will mention a name of one of your friends. It's like, it's like that pain all comes back, or you hear something about so and so, and you're like, and so, but now it's in your hand. So anytime you click it on, it's going to be right in your face.
I guess maybe I'm going too far to try to make up for my dislike of social media, but if this was 1987. And my friends went on a fishing trip, I would still suffer from what we now call FOMO. It would be me sitting on, again, going back to Friday at my desk. I have no pictures. I have no text messages. I have nothing, but I have my brain. Mm-hmm. And in my brain, especially if I've been on the fishing trip before, I'm like, oh, I bet they got up at, whatever time. And I bet they did I'm
you're just replaying it in your mind.
Exactly. And so I have no social media. It hasn't been invented yet, but I'm still doing this to myself to some degree. Mm-hmm. Right. So, causing myself physical pain because I wasn't able to go with my friends to do this thing.
Yeah.
And again, social media sucks. I'm going to say it again, but, because what it does to us. And so FOMO aside, I was thinking about why I double down on it is, when you were talking about depression and anxiety and all that, my other view of social media is there are, and it does seem to be younger, teenagers, younger adults or whatever, but who, especially in the beginning of social media, they were looking at what other people were doing, right? Mm-hmm. They're in France, they're in Italy, or they're at some party or they're whatever. And it's everything that people thought was worthy of posting on social media at the time. But then on the receiving end, other users are looking at it like, why am I such a loser that I can't go and do that thing that person do? Look at all those people on that boat, or you get the point. I just and so those aren't even my friends. Those are people I don't even know necessarily. Yeah. But they're recording their lives, only showing the best parts of their lives, but they're recording their lives, and then a whole bunch of people are looking at it and feel down on themselves or depressed or whatever because they're not able to do those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, research again has shown that it brings up, like, social media brings up negative social comparisons. So you're comparing yourself to other people, and they're showing the good part of their life. So it's like a curated view. Yeah. They've had a really crappy weekend, but they were next to something. They smile real big with a picture outdoors somewhere, and you go, man, they were probably out having fun all weekend. And it's that one moment that they capture to post because that also helps them a little bit. But now you have social comparisons, go, I didn't do that. And maybe if you could really know what happened, you had more fun that weekend. But just looking at their picture, you don't know that. So now you have this social comparison of, I'm not doing enough. They also found in research there's body image concerns. And this is what's sad is this, especially with teenagers and young adults. Yep. And then it causes distractions from daily activities. It decreases sleep quality. There's just some bad things. And with young people, like between, I don't know, like late teens and early 20s, like up to age 23 or something, 2/3 of them in the US have said that they battle FOMO, like constantly. 2/3. And so sometimes I hear, people say, oh, there's just a bunch of snowflakes nowadays and kids aren't as tough as they used to be. And I'm thinking, I can't imagine growing up today with access to everything that, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to be clear. I've learned from you, and you've said it so many times. Don't stereotype people. You can stereotype
Hmm.
things, and
Hmm.
and I think that it's the one thing that I push back against, and you might correct me here, but it's just like millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, all that. Those are stereotypes to me.
Hmm.
And so I try not to stereotype people, but I can
Hmm.
only talk about my experience. So I
Hmm.
go back to when I was growing up, and I'm old. I don't mind dating myself. In 1984, or whatever it was, and a bunch of kids got invited to the birthday party, and I didn't get invited,
Hmm.
whatever the reason was. Right?
Hmm.
I There was no such thing as social media or anything like that, but that it still would, I think, bother me that I wasn't at the birthday party. Everything
Hmm.
we just talked about, I'd be
Hmm.
thinking about, well, they're probably having cake right now, or they're probably, the birthday, they're opening presents, or they're playing pin the tail on the donkey, whatever the thing might
Hmm.
be. I can still torture myself
Yeah.
mentally with my own
Yeah.
imagination.
Yep.
And so again, being like, uh, that today's kids or whatever think about everything I just described, but it's real. Like, you can watch it. I
Yeah.
can sit on my phone and be like, "There's the cake,"
Yeah.
right? Like, I can look at everybody in that picture smiling. So
Yeah.
if you're not, I mean, boy, I'm getting real heated here. I'm sorry, but that idea again of like saying that this generation is soft, or this whatever, these snowflakes, all of that.
Hmm.
I mean, I challenge you, if you're in your late 40s or 50s or older, think about that for yourself, and
Hmm.
then think about what it would have been like if you would have had
Hmm.
Instagram or any of the TikTok or whatever, that you could just sit and watch all of it happen.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
then,
that's what I think about for me.
yeah. And then even if it's not your friends, you look at the pictures people are posting. Like if you're female, all the females
Oh,
and
yeah.
trying to get you to measure up to everything that's being done. And then people like bullying you, making comments about you when you put your picture up. It'd just be
Hmm.
rough. There's a show on HBO called Back to the Frontier or something like that. Have you seen this or heard about it? They take
Back.
three families and they fly them up to a wilderness in Canada, and they go off grid and they have these little homes. They have to stay there for a certain number of weeks and live like people lived in the 1800s.
Okay.
I think the 1880s to be specific, I think is what they're going back to. But so it's families, and just in one of the shows, there's a girl that's probably late teens. She's in high school, but probably a junior in high school, maybe. And they just the different things that they're having them do. She was so shy when she first started the show. So this girl was really shy, and then as she's progressing along, she's doing more and more things and like gaining confidence. And at one point, it's a documentary. So, well, no, not a documentary. What do they call the
It's like a
reality show?
reality show. Yeah.
It's a reality show. So they have people stand to the side and they'll interview them one on one. Then you see them going. So they have her to the side, and she says, I can't believe how much confidence I've gained. I didn't know what kind of a person I was. And she said, I wish that my real life was like this, because she said, in my real life, everybody is always judging me. She said, my lips aren't shaped just right. My eyebrows, I work so hard because people make fun. And she started to, and she's like this, like attractive young lady. It's like,
Yeah.
what can you
Yeah.
pick out about her? And she's telling all the things that people pick on her about, and her problems. And she's saying, it's so much easier now because I don't have to be on my phone. I don't have to post pictures. I don't have to be on my phone. I'm really enjoying this. And I wish my life was more like this. And like at one point they have this get together with their community. So there's several of them, and they're playing some music and they start to dance. And she says, I would have never danced in public before. I was too embarrassed. And I love it now. Like, she's just so carefree and
Hmm.
being herself. And it's like, she said, I really enjoy being disconnected from
JOMO.
my media. Yeah. Yeah. JOMO,
Back to
the,
JOMO.
the joy of missing out.
Absolutely. I love it so
Yeah.
much. I
Hmm.
love it.
Yeah.
But I guess I wouldn't call it the joy of missing out because I don't consider it missing out. But that's
Yeah.
that's a story for a different Donahue. But I mean, again, I come into this with some misconceptions about my own kind of ideas about what someone who's going through this. I always admittedly just think of like it's just someone who is so worried about what people are doing and saying about them, about other people. They don't want to miss out on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I not I think I not belittled. I didn't give this topic the credence that it deserved from a psychological standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just thinking again about like I wasn't, even if I was invited and couldn't go, and the kind of person that maybe had these feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and not thinking really about, again, like forget about social media, forget about FOMO. I think it was first said in like 2001 or whatever, but this thing's been around as long as we have.
Yeah, the concept of belonging and that has been around, needing to belong has been around. Coming up with the terms to describe it a little bit better is more recent.
Sure, but I still go back to, like hundreds of thousands of millions, name the years.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all want to be around other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's how we survive. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so not having that for some people, depending on their particular wiring, some of the things is physically painful.
Stressful and painful, physically painful.
Never, I would have never even considered that.
And social media, I keep coming back to this, but social
Thank
media
you
makes
for
it
that.
so much worse because it's like a double-edged sword. Like one part of FOMO is if I'm not scrolling, I'm going to miss the latest meme or the hottest trending topic or whatever. So I got to scroll just so that I don't miss out on that. But now
Yeah.
as I'm scrolling, I see what people are doing and friends are doing, and now I'm have FOMO for that because I see what I'm missing out.
Yeah.
So I don't want to miss out on this, so I scroll, but then my scrolling shows me what I'm missing out on. And so it's like a double-edged sword, and it's really tough. But it also kicks that dopamine reward system into gear to keep you going, even though it's painful, and it can, lead to anxiety and depression, but you keep doing it.
I'll tell you, I've been on this podcast for I lost count actually, but a long time, and have listened to you talk about these things, and I feel like I'm up on it, and I still, and it's somewhat rare, but I will find the right time and the right place where I realize I have been scrolling through social media for longer than I want to be scrolling, and I stop and go, what are you doing? And I go, stop it. And I keep going. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to put my phone away right now. And so it does end up happening, but it takes a couple of seconds to a couple of minutes for me to actually take the action that I'm telling myself to take. And that's predicated on the fact that I realized I've been doing this for however long. And again, I'm flipping through these screens and watching these videos and just mindlessly going, boom, next one, boom, next one, boom, next one. And go, how long have I been doing this? Okay, that's too long.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Well, it's especially bad for you because I know before we started this podcast, you were like joining JOMO, the joy of missing out, because you had stopped social media. And now when you started the podcast, you had to get back onto it so that you could promo the podcast on the different platforms. And so you like were forced into going back on. So that's kind of bad too.
But that's how it starts for me. Not making excuses. I'm being honest, both good and bad. I always try to be honest about this is I go on for the show because I want to be active. And so I'll post something for John Teaches Sean podcast, say on TikTok. And then I go and I watch it because I want to make sure, everything, it says the right stuff, it looks right. And then I watch the clip and then boom, I'm on to the next thing. And then I'm in a 15 or 20 minute doom spiral of just on TikTok.
And yeah,
And
TikTok is worse because
oh,
you get done with one, you hit the back button to go out, and it shows you one more.
it
And if
takes
you
me one more.
if you
Yeah,
pause long enough and hit the back button, it'll show you one more. You have to hit the back button fairly close together to get out of it. It's
I
always
gotta
like, "Are you
double click
sure?
that
Are
back
you
button.
sure? Are you sure?" It
Yeah.
keeps giving. Are you sure you want to leave?
And listen, I don't have, this is my kryptonite. It shows me stuff I'm interested in. I mean, it's everything we've talked about, and I'm not whining. I'm in control somewhat of what I do,
Mm-hmm.
but this algorithm, when I hit the back button, it shows me something it knows I'm interested in,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, ooh, okay, just one more, just one more. It's just one more.
Yeah,
It's disconcerting to me
they know what they're
because
doing.
I do try to exert some measure of control over myself,
Mm-hmm.
and this feels like the one area where it's the hardest for me. This and sweets
Yeah,
is, TikTok and a chocolate cake. Both of them are going to crush me. But no, in all sincerity though, like it helps for me to be more empathetic to people who are kind of addicted to social media,
mm-hmm.
because I've felt this, and like I said, I want to be clear and just not to protest too much, but I don't. It doesn't happen that often. But on a rare occasion, I do find myself doing something mindlessly that I didn't realize I was doing for
Yeah,
17 minutes or whatever, and I don't
yeah.
like it.
So when you choose to disconnect, that is a positive experience for you, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so the idea behind JOMO, the joy of missing out, is that it's a positive, it's like a relief and a positive feeling. And uh, recent research is starting to question that about if it really is that if it's all beneficial and helpful. And the reason they started looking at it is that you, you have to look at, again, we said some people naturally want to be around others and some people not so much. So there's scales and there's differences. So one of the things that people will sometimes struggle with is introversion. And so like social introversion is where if I go to this event and there's a lot of people, that's just too much because I'm introverted. So I'm going to choose not to go, but it's not out of joy and it doesn't feel good. It leads to more feelings of isolation because I'm not going because I don't think I can handle it. I don't trust myself enough. I'm too much of an introvert. So that can lead to what sometimes is referred to as anxious introversion, because now I'm getting anxiety from not being able to go to these events. So it's not really the joy of missing out. It's I'm not going and I'm choosing not to go, but it's not for that reason. So I think that now researchers are trying to kind of tease those out and separate those out. And they've found that uh, people who score high on social interaction needs, who
hmm
want to be around other people, have more negative experiences with JOMO, and people who are uh, less of that sense of I need to belong. They still have that. We all still have that sense, basically. But those who aren't, on the one, they're more towards the middle of that. They're more likely to see it as a positive thing. And so the latest research I was reading is that they're guessing it might be as low as 10% of the population who chooses to disconnect see it as a really positive thing. A lot of people see it as not that positive. So I think a lot of researchers, and I think therapists even, are saying that you need to choose periods of disconnection rather than just disconnect. Just say, I'm going to disconnect for 3 days, or I'm going to disconnect for this amount of time. And I'm doing it for this reason, which is good for me. And I know it's self-help. I know it's good for me to be away from that for a bit. They tend to find the positive side of it. And so for that reason, JOMO is looked at as state-based. I said that FOMO is personality-based.
yeah.
JOMO is more situationally based on what the situation is. If you choose it, then it can be positive for you.
I think that part of my problem is that FOMO and JOMO are catchy,
Yeah,
but they don't really describe what we're talking about.
not
And,
really.
and They really don't. The fear, it's not the fear of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
From what I'm processing what you have described, and it's more of the anxiety from disconnection, from not getting
Mm-hmm.
the thing that I need.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say it's the joy of missing out. Now I'm speaking for myself. I don't really derive joy from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do guard my energy resources carefully, and that's emotionally, physically, all of it. And we're back to social media more than anything, but sometimes big events too. I take care of myself first, and then I have a close, there's an inner circle, and then I
Mm-hmm.
might even, if we're talking concentric circles, there's maybe like a circle just outside of that, and that's about the energy I have every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's me, my wife, my kids, their family, and then I have a close group of friends, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I have energy outside of that, I try to help anybody that I can. I try to interact with people, smile at people, those
Mm-hmm.
things. But so I don't take any joy in missing out in on those interactions.
Right. Right.
But I'm talking about social media,
Mm-hmm.
getting on, and here's the big one. Somebody will say, "Oh, did you see that clip of that guy who said the thing about the other guy?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, I didn't. I didn't see that." And I'm quite glad that I didn't see that. And it's not because I'm better than anybody else that I think I'm better.
Mm-hmm.
I feel better in my day that I didn't see that clip, because it has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And it's not helping me or my family or the people I care about or really anybody else. But
Or like
so
Casey says, you'll never get that time back.
never,
Like
no,
it's
it's
gone.
gone. It's gone. And God forbid, at the end of the day, I've wasted any of my emotional energy on, that video clip or reading the comments, or God, getting into an argument with a stranger online,
Yeah.
right? I've wasted that emotional energy, and then I don't have that little bit, because I believe I have a finite amount of energy in the bank every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I've wasted that little bit of energy, and now I don't have it to spend on the people I just described. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what really bothers me, is
Mm-hmm.
if through my own actions I've wasted,
Yeah.
if you were to equate it to currency, I'm not literally, I'm figuratively driving down the road throwing money out the window,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that money's gone. I can't go back and pick it up. And so at the end of the day, I've wasted that money.
Yeah.
Again, this might not be for everybody. It's how I'm wired. It's how I'm made up. And it's taken me 50 years to get here, and I'm arguably still not there. But, that's what I strive for. And I just feel like social media is an impediment. It's an obstacle
Mm-hmm.
for me to
Mm-hmm.
do the things that I think that I should be doing. And I just want to have better control over it.
Yeah.
That's the real key. So if
Control
you
is
could come
key.
up with better ideas than FOMO and JOMO, that's what I really need from you. It's just
Yeah.
call it something else.
Yeah. So if we could come up with a different label, but those who say that uh, they have positive feelings from JOMO, like for
Hmm.
shutting off social media and things like that, tend to score really high on life satisfaction. Like my life's going well. So some researchers are suggesting, when you do a research study, you have you have like an introduction, you set up the problem, and then you have the method section. You tell how you conducted your study and all the details about that, so that somebody can replicate it to test it. And you have all of that goes back and forth. So you have to put down everything exactly as you did it. Then you have a results section that tells what you found. And then you have the discussion section that discusses your findings. And sometimes you'll have a discussion and then a separate section called conclusions. But it's usually in those discussion sections where researchers will make an argument for why this study is important. And part of the arguments around why studies about JOMO are important is because it can help people figure out how to better maneuver through their lives so that they reach higher life satisfaction.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's taken away from JOMO is that, like the fishing trip, if you feel like you've missed out on that, then to try to reframe that event into something that makes you feel like you got something out of it too. So maybe it's, yeah, my friends went on that fishing trip. I had to work, but then I'm going to spend Saturday, since they aren't around, getting my man cave ready for the football season that's coming up. Then I can invite them over at some point and we can talk about that and we'll bond at that point. And now all of a sudden
Mm,
with that plan,
that's
and
good.
while you're
That's good.
working on your room, going, I'm accomplishing something here that's going to help me later, because they can come over and talk about their fish stories or whatever. We'll watch a ball game and we'll bond that way. Or when you see pictures of people on vacation in, did you say France? I think you mentioned earlier, but wherever. So you see
Yeah,
the
south of France, Italy,
south of
pick
France, and
the,
you're going, wow, that good for them. But you reframe it to say, I am still having a relaxing weekend and I've saved a ton of money and I've avoided the anxiety from travels. So I'm good right now. I'll do that someday, but right now it feels good to keep a little bit of money in the bank and just enjoy my weekend here, and just kind of reframe things a little bit to where now you can say it's not as bad if I miss out. So
yeah.
you have to be more purposeful, but I think that can be helpful. And then I think just really limiting yourself, like you were saying, that, it gets away from you when there's no clock to say, how long have I been on here? That happens to me too. So it's so frustrating. Like all of a sudden I'm like really shaky and I can't hardly hold the phone. I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten in 8 hours. I've been on scrolling. It's never been that long, but it's like, what am I doing? I need to get up and move and do something different. So yeah, I
Yes.
think just being more aware of it is good and healthy.
I love that. There's so many takeaways for me from this episode, but I love stay away from the labels if you can, but reframe the way that you look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
And
I think that's the biggest message.
that's why JOMO is a state of mind about a given situation, where FOMO is a personality trait.
Yeah,
JOMO is a state of mind. So just change your state of mind around it, and that can be really helpful. I know
I
that's
love
easy to
that.
say, but if you practice it, it gets easier.
Yeah, repetition, and
Mm-hmm.
you can. Yeah, I love that. Oh, John. So I brought up a topic I thought was going to be just kind of maybe not surface, but I didn't expect this. This was fantastic.
Great.
Uh, and
Great.
more than answered my questions. It actually helped me reframe the way I look at people who are going through this.
That
And
is
so
good.
I appreciate that so much.
You're flexing your brain.
I'm
That's
trying
good. Got to
trying to
keep
keep those
flexing it.
keep what did you say the other time that I
Those
like
neurons
keep
firing.
flexing it. Keep those neurons firing. It's gonna yeah. So again, thank you so much for that. And if anybody else got anything out of this episode, which I really hope you did, hit that like button, follow, subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it or watching it. I know this whole episode was me down on social media, so it seems a little bit contrarian or just a little bit weird for me to ask for you to follow us on social media. But let's be honest,
Just
you're
be
on there
careful.
anyway. Just be
Just be
careful.
careful while you do it. That's right.
Be
Just
careful.
follow us.
Follow us or John on TikTok, brain_dude on TikTok for him. John teaches Sean on all our socials. We're on Blue Sky. We're on TikTok, on YouTube. So yeah, follow us. If you like the show, tell a friend, tell a coworker, tell somebody that you think could benefit. If you love the show, tell two. And again, I'm doing this for me. I hope there's some of you along for the ride, but selfishly, I have more fun every week. So I thank you, John. I thank everybody out there. And until next week, take care of yourself, and we'll see you then.
Just Sean.